elaborate costumes, larger-than-life personas, awe-inspiring feats of athleticism.
Didn't we already do drag?
Oh, no. This is pro wrestling. Hello friends, and welcome to Flyover Culture, your guided tour to pop culture in the Midwest. I'm Payton Whaley, and today I'm strapping on my tights for our hardest hitting episode yet. Metaphorically, otherwise we'll have to start a Patreon or something. Pro wrestling has a little bit of something for everyone. For some, it's like Shakespeare with suplexes. These long-running storylines punctuated with high-flying maneuvers and intricate physical dedication. Other times it just feels good to see a guy get thrown through a whole section of Menards. Today we're focusing on one promotion in particular, Paradigm Pro Wrestling. For the past few years, Paradigm's been making waves for itself as a Midwest-based and Midwest-focused league of athletes. They were kind enough to invite me down to Jeffersonville, Indiana to get to know their wrestlers, their unique rule set, and, of course, lots and lots of
Paradigm Pro Wrestling is an independent wrestling organization. Another way of looking at independent wrestling as a whole is kind of like the minor leagues of professional wrestling. A lot of people that come through us end up on televised companies, things of that nature. A lot of people have not necessarily gotten their start with us because we're kind of like, AA or AAA, but they've gone to us before they've gone on to the TV promotions. There's not really an official hierarchy in wrestling, but we're one of the better known independent companies in the country currently.
Paradigm Pro Wrestling launched about 5 years ago as a way to give pro wrestling a home base in our neck of the woods.
It's a lot harder hitting, it's a lot rawer, it's a lot more violent too, if we're being honest. But, the wrestlers are all respectful of each other and we try to keep it as safe as possible, but they're going to hit each other a lot harder than they would other places. We are a niche market, right? We are a niche of a niche market. We're never going to be the biggest. We're not trying to please everybody. We're just trying to be us, do our thing.
From here, I got to know some of Paradigm's biggest names, Austin Connelly, Brutus, Sage Phillips, and the ankle breaker herself, Jordan Blade.
I've been a pro wrestler for 5 years. I've been training for 7 years. With me, pretty much it is what you see is what you get. I have a blue belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, so I definitely use that to my advantage. I have a gold medal in powerlifting. Just a powerful, badass, really, is what it is.
Brutus Dillon is a 6'8", 400-pound monster that literally, as soon as I step into the ring, whoever I'm across from, it's definitely going to be a fight. I'm pretty much like a brawler, or definitely not technical or anything like that. I guess you could say I like to beat people up. So
I like to think of us as like the punk rock of pro wrestling. We're not the biggest. We don't try to be the biggest, but we are one of the more unique. We're not necessarily going to be as polished production-wise. Part of that's budget limitations. Part of it's by choice. We're in smaller venues. We're in darker venues, kind of punk rock there.
It definitely gives off that vibe. But there's something different about being an independent wrestling show, and it's a lot better chance of you getting interacting with the wrestlers as well. So you get the intimate feeling with them, whether it be at the merch stands or them yelling at you across the ring.
We typically wrestle out of the arena in Jeffersonville, Indiana, and it's very dingy and dark, and definitely not as polished or as lit as AEW or WWE. The matches and everything, they're fast-paced, they're hard-hitting.
I love the independent scene. I love being able to go and be creative on my own terms and just do what I want to do and have people give the trust to me to be able to do what I want to do.
For a lot of wrestlers, it's like an extension of their actual personality. It's your actual personality turned up to 11. For others, it's nothing like their actual personality. You would never suspect that they wrestle until you see them get into character, and they're totally different.
What sets Paradigm apart is its emphasis on the UWFI rule set. The name comes from a defunct Japanese promotion called the Union of Professional Wrestling Forces International.
When we ran our first UWFI rules show in 2019, it was the first time in 25 years that the rule set had been used in the United States.
In a few words, UWFI matches can end through knockouts, TKOs, submissions, or through UWFI's point system. There's a bigger emphasis on strikes and grapples and less on using the ropes and going outside the ring. And all hand strikes must be open-handed, hence all the slapping.
People really enjoyed it. The wrestlers liked working the style. The fans liked it different. It felt different than the wrestling you see. And we'd originally just planned to do it as a one-off. We were just going to do one show under UWFI rules. It's kind of like a test to see how it went. But it ended up being the most successful event we'd ever had at that point.
They are absolutely just sprints. Everybody's going as hard as they possibly can with everything, with every UWFI match. It's a great challenge, and it's helped me push myself even farther than I even thought I could go, and helped me like learn more about like the actual techniques, the actual forms, the real sport of wrestling.
And it's definitely not as predictable as, you know, something that you may see on WWE and even in a traditional, you know, professional wrestling match. And that's one of the reasons why I like this style so much, you know, and I mean, again, I'm a blue belt in jiu-jitsu, so, you know, stuff like this is right up my alley.
These wrestlers tell me that UWFI simply has that je ne sais quoi that other types of wrestling don't, for both pros and fans alike.
I really liked like the shoot part of it in terms of like, it makes it seem like more of the athleticism and the competition and the reaction time as it is in a real fight.
In the early 90s, their kind of calling card at that time was they promoted pro wrestling as if it was a shoot sport, like MMA, meaning like full contact. This is not predetermined. This is not cooperative. It was, by and large, but they promoted it like it wasn't, and they worked a lot, what's in wrestling parlance called stiffer, right? So they're not necessarily pulling their punches. They're going to hit each other. It's going to look real because they're really making contact, but they have just agreed on a winner.
Again, we're both telling stories, but one of them, I could beat the crap out of somebody. I could beat the crap out of somebody in pro wrestling as well, but like, I probably like need to make it a little bit more like luxurious looking. In professional wrestling, I need to like, if I'm beating the crap out of somebody, maybe I take them through Narnia before I, you know, finally in their life. And then, you know, in UWFI, like I just go ahead and in their life, like, you know, so.
And on top of UWFI, Brutus Dillon takes part in hardcore matches, which is where you tend to see stuff like this.
I'm currently in 4 different companies. They're hardcore champion. It's just a different dynamic than a normal wrestling match. You know, because you're going into it as like anything goes, you know, and you can use whatever weapon that you can find to actually do your opponent even more harm. I'm going to be honest with you, there's no way to actually fall through a door correctly without it hurting. I'm just going to be completely honest. It's the I like to call it's the hope and pray factor.
Pro wrestling asks a lot of its athletes. Training, storytelling, and a heck of a lot of bodily punishment. But something about it just makes it all worthwhile.
It's very cliche, but it's very true. There's this feeling that I get when I'm out there, even when I'm training with my students. I get this feeling of that adrenaline that I just always want to keep coming back to. I really have a passion for it, and I have a passion for every single person that comes up to my merch table to tell me how much they love my work, or how long they've traveled to come see me. Also, I'm very grateful that throughout these 5 years, no matter how much I've lost or how much I've gained, wrestling itself has just been the #1 constant in my life. It's given me a lot after I had lost a lot in my personal life. I just feel like I want to give back to it in that way.
I've always had the notion of whether it be 5 people or 500 people, I'm gonna be the same guy, whether, you know, like I said, there's only 2 people in the crowd or there's 2,000 people in the crowd, you know, like.
Wrestling provides an outlet for these athletes to express themselves unlike anything else.
But I always try to create moments, like make sure that I do something that the fan will remember, because that's the most important part, is that the fan is able to take something home with them.
I'm 6'8", I'm a 400-pound dude. You're either gonna react to me one of 2 ways. They're either going to be like, oh my God, this dude's huge and he's scary. Or they're going to be like, this dude, does some cool stuff and we want to see him, throw people around. You know what I'm saying? Like, whether I'm making them cheer or boo, I think that's what just draws me back in, man. I'll tell you this, it's definitely not the pain and suffering I go through.
For me, it was always to be able just to show, like, I can talk to people or I can be a presence in front of people. When I grew up, I was diagnosed really young, I think first grade, with Asperger's syndrome. You have a hard time understanding social cues. I would get frustrated about little things that I shouldn't get frustrated about. So I feel like when I found professional wrestling, it gave me like, oh, I can use it as an avenue to try and channel that energy.
But no matter what they're feeling, what's going through their heads, they can leave it all in the ring.
I love Indiana, and I love that Midwestern John Mellencamp. We're going to pull ourselves up by our bootstraps, and we're going to do this ourselves. We've got all the talent in the world, but people don't know who we are because we're in the Midwest. And we decided we were just going to embrace that.
That's 12-year-old me being like, holy, like, I get to do this. Like, I get to live out, like, legitimately, like, live out a dream, which most people don't. Most people have dreams when they're kids or whatever that they want to do, and life happens, and I understand that, and then they just give up on it because they don't think it's attainable. And I almost did that because I didn't think being a professional wrestler was going to be attainable, but I still I had to make it happen the way I had to. And like, it's just like, I'm the type of person, like, it has to get done. It just has to. I have no choice.
A big thank you to Gary Wilson and the Paradigm Pro Wrestlers for sharing their time with me. Check them out on social media. I've got those links down below, plus where you can catch these matches. And if you like what you see from Flyover Culture, please suplex that subscribe button so you won't miss new episodes. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.